The mysterious king who refused to die. Once upon a time in a faraway land, hidden deep within a mystical forest called Okon, there was a kingdom. The king's name was Akando, and he was a mysterious man. His people loved and respected him, but they didn't know much about him. King Akando was different from other kings. He never seemed to get old or sick. His skin was always smooth, and his eyes were bright. People started to wonder if he was immortal. Years went by, and King Akando's legend grew. People told stories about his bravery, wisdom, and kindness. But they also whispered about his strange powers. One day, a terrible sickness spread through the kingdom. Many people got very ill, including King Akando's closest friends and family. But the king himself didn't get sick. His people begged him to leave, to save himself. But King Akando refused. "I won't leave my people when they need me most," he said. As the sickness spread, King Akando took care of his people. He visited the sick, brought them food and water, and comforted their families. People started to notice that King Akando was not just kind and brave, but also seemingly invincible. He didn't get tired, hungry, or thirsty, no matter how hard he worked. The mystery of King Akando's immortality deepened. People wondered if he was a god, or if he had made a deal with dark forces. One of King Akando's closest advisors, a wise old man named Kofi, decided to investigate. Kofi had lived in the kingdom all his life and had heard many stories about King Akando. Kofi spent many sleepless nights researching and talking to the oldest people in the kingdom. Finally, he discovered a shocking truth. "King Akando," Kofi said, trembling with fear and excitement, "you are bound to the earth by a powerful curse. You will not die until you fulfill your purpose." King Akando's face didn't change, but a spark of curiosity lit up his eyes. What was his purpose? Why had he been chosen to live forever? The kingdom slowly recovered from the sickness, but King Akando's mystery only deepened. People whispered among themselves, speculating about the king's true nature and the secrets he kept. Some said King Akando was a hero, sent to protect the kingdom from harm. Others claimed he was a villain, cursed to live forever as punishment for his sins. But one thing was certain, King Akando remained, watching over his kingdom with an air of mystery and power. As time passed, King Akando's legend grew, and people began to wonder about his past. Where did he come from? Who were his parents? What was his life like before he became king? Kofi, the wise old advisor, decided to ask King Akando about his past. But the king just smiled and said, "My past is not important, Kofi. What matters is the present and the future." Kofi was not satisfied with the answer, but he knew better than to push the king. Instead, he decided to investigate on his own. Kofi spent many months searching for clues about King Akando's past. He talked to old people, searched ancient records, and even visited neighboring kingdoms. But no matter where he looked, he couldn't find any information about King Akando's life before he became king. Just when Kofi was about to give up, he received a mysterious message from an unknown sender. The message read, "Meet me at the old oak tree in the forest at midnight. Come alone." Kofi was skeptical, but something about the message resonated with him. He decided to go to the meeting, hoping to finally uncover the truth about King Akando's past. As Kofi approached the old oak tree, he saw a figure cloaked in shadows. The figure stepped forward, revealing an old woman with piercing green eyes. "Who are you?" Kofi asked, trying to hide his fear. "I am the one who knows the truth about King Akando," the old woman replied, her voice low and mysterious. "And I will tell you everything, but you must promise to keep the secret." Kofi hesitated for a moment, but his curiosity got the better of him. "I promise," he said. The old woman smiled, and her eyes seemed to gleam with a knowing light. "Very well," she said. "Let me tell you the story of King Akando's past." King Akando was not born a king, the old woman began. He was born a humble farmer's son in a small village on the outskirts of the kingdom. Kofi's eyes widened in surprise. A farmer's son, he repeated. The old woman nodded. Yes. But Akando was different from the start. He had a special gift, the gift of healing. Kofi's curiosity was piqued. What do you mean? He asked. The old woman smiled. Akando could heal any wound, cure any sickness. He had a deep connection to the natural world, and he could harness its power. As Kofi made his way back to the kingdom, he couldn't shake off the feeling that there was more to the story. He knew that he had to tell King Akando about the old woman's revelation, but he was afraid of how the king would react. As Kofi entered the kingdom, he was greeted by King Akando himself. The king's eyes seemed to bore into Kofi's soul, as if he knew that Kofi had discovered the truth. Kofi, I see you've been searching for answers, King Akando said, his voice low and mysterious. Kofi swallowed hard. Yes, Your Majesty. I met an old woman in the forest. She told me about your past. King Akando nodded. I see. And what did she tell you? Kofi took a deep breath and repeated the old woman's story. King Akando listened intently, his expression unreadable. When Kofi finished, King Akando nodded thoughtfully. The old woman spoke the truth. I am cursed, Kofi. But I am also blessed. Kofi looked at the king in confusion. Blessed, Your Majesty. King Akando smiled. Yes, Kofi. My immortality has given me the chance to learn, to grow, and to help others. I have lived for centuries, and in that time, I have gained wisdom and knowledge that I can use to make the world a better place. Kofi's eyes widened in understanding. I see, Your Majesty. You're saying that your curse is also a gift? King Akando nodded. Exactly, Kofi. And that is the moral of my story. Sometimes, what seems like a curse can actually be a blessing in disguise. It's all about how we choose to see it. Kofi felt a sense of wonder wash over him. He had learned a valuable lesson from King Akando's story. As the sun began to set, King Akando placed a hand on Kofi's shoulder. Remember, Kofi, the truth about my past is not just a story, it's a reminder that every experience, no matter how difficult, can be a chance for growth and learning. And with that, King Akando disappeared into the shadows, leaving Kofi to ponder the wisdom of his words. The next morning, Kofi woke up feeling changed. He realized that he had been given a rare gift, the chance to learn from a man who had lived for centuries. From that day on, Kofi approached life with a new sense of wonder and curiosity. He knew that every experience, no matter how difficult, was an opportunity for growth and learning. And as for King Akando, he remained a mystery, a man shrouded in secrecy and wisdom. But his legacy lived on, inspiring generations to come. I hope you enjoyed the story. Let me know if you have any other requests or questions.